morning, folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making coleslaw. Now, coleslaw is perfect for any summertime get-together, cookout. It's easy to make. However you choose to get your cabbage and your vegetables, you can certainly use purple cabbage in your coleslaw if you want to for more color. But I just use half a head of cabbage and a carrot. If you're not buying bagged cabbage and you're making this yourself, you can chop it up or you can grate it or you can use a food processor. I just used my box grater and grated this up. And like I said, this is for about half a head. If you're buying bag stuff, you're going to want a 16 to a 20 ounce bag probably. But if you're going to get cabbage and grate it, there's a couple of things that you need to know about the cabbage. This center part, the heart of the cabbage right in here, the heart is really, really tasty. And you can actually peel what I have left here and put a little salt on it and just eat it. But this edge, this part right here, it's woody and the texture is really bad, but more than that, this edge right around the heart is very, very bitter. You don't want to grate this or chop this up and get it in your coleslaw because it will ruin your whole bowl of coleslaw. Okay, now that's how not to mess up your coleslaw. This recipe actually came from my dad's dad. He was a World War II veteran, and he was one of those guys who never really retired. He retired from 2 careers, and him and my nanny, they would travel around in the summertime when it was warm, and then they would go back to Florida and spend the winter. And one of his many winter jobs after he retired was at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he started making this when he was there. And I suspect that job was from some time when I was really young, maybe in the 70s. Because we always had this when we went to visit them in the summertime. But you need some milk. You want between a third and a half a cup of milk and half a cup of mayonnaise. And you do want to mix your dressing up before you dump the ingredients in your cabbage. If you combine the ingredients together first and then pour it over like a dressing, it just changes the whole texture and the flavor of the coleslaw, and it is better. So put your mayonnaise in your milk. You can use buttermilk in this. I don't have buttermilk, or you can use half buttermilk and regular milk. What I have here is a couple tablespoons of buttermilk powder. If you don't have any buttermilk, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to have the buttermilk, but you can use fresh buttermilk or add a little buttermilk powder to it. I've got about 2.5 tablespoons of sugar here. You do want sugar in this recipe, and you can adjust this to suit your taste, anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons. You might even want a little bit more in it. I've got a tablespoon and a half of lemon juice, a tablespoon of vinegar, and I've got about a tablespoon of onion powder. Now you can use fresh minced onions, about 2 or 3 tablespoons. You want to chop them up really, really fine. If you've watched my videos before though, you know I don't use the fresh onions in anything that I cook or anything that I make. If I'm going to use onions, I make sure I cook them because raw onions are a migraine trigger, and I get migraines, so does my mother-in-law, and at least 2 of my daughters. So I use the onion powder if I'm making something that I'm not going to cook, like the coleslaw or the potato salad. And you need a little salt and a little pepper, and this is just a taste. I have about half a teaspoon of salt and maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, or a little bit more. Like I said, it's just a taste. And give that a good stir. Okay, and once you've got that stirred up, just pour it over your cabbage and your carrots. You do want a carrot in this, even if you don't use the purple cabbage. It adds a little bit of sweetness to it, and it also gives it a little color. If you don't have anything except for the green cabbage in your coleslaw, it just doesn't look as appealing. It's also a good idea to mix this up the day before you're going to use it, at least several hours before, because that really allows that dressing to soak into the cabbage and it improves the flavor, the texture. It's much creamier, and it's just all around better the second day. This will keep in the refrigerator for 5 to 7 days. Now, not if you leave it sitting out. Like if you use this for a cookout and it sits out of the refrigerator for a couple of hours or even an hour on a hot day, don't put it back in the refrigerator and use it later, because that mayonnaise is going to go bad and it will make you sick when you try to eat it the next time. So if this is going to be sitting outside in the heat at a cookout, don't save what's left. But if you're keeping it in the refrigerator, you've got, like I said, 5 to 7 days on it. And that is all there is to it. This is probably better than what you would get at Kentucky Fried Chicken, because there's not anything artificial in it. Like I said, this is a really simple summertime recipe. You gotta have it if you're gonna do a cookout. Alex's birthday is tomorrow, and we're all gonna get together. We've had a nice break in the weather, and we're gonna go out and cook some hot dogs on a fire in the backyard. That's one of Charlotte's favorite things to do. Every time she comes over, she said, "Cook a hot dog on a fire, Granny." So we go out in the backyard and build a fire and cook hot dogs with her. She loves it, going camping, cooking hot dogs and stuff. Coleslaw, potato salad, and hot dog, and you've got a really easy, really good summertime meal, and you can feed a lot of people with it without a lot of effort. Thanks for joining us at the Hillbilly Kitchen. Don't forget to click like and subscribe before you leave, and until next time, remember to put God first.